Good evening, afternoon, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Martirone and Mr. Walter's flipped lesson, Absolutism in France, or as what we like to say, Absolutism, where it worked best.
All right, in this lesson today, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to see the best example of an absolute monarch. We've talked about absolutism in England, we've talked about it in Spain, we've talked about it in Russia. Now we're going to focus on it in France. All right, this is the best example of an absolute monarch. This is King Louis the 14th.
But it takes a little while to get to King Louis XIV, and I am going to give you a little backstory on how we get to Louis XIV. First off, if you remember, France was, just like Germany, torn between being Catholic and Protestant. But in France, they had a special name for Protestants, and that was Huguenot. Well, what happens is a man by the name of Henry IV is going to inherit the French throne. Except the problem is he's a Huguenot and most of the people are Catholic. So how are we going to solve this problem? Henry says, you know what? I will convert to Catholicism, and so that way I can rule France without any problems. But I'm not going to forget my Huguenot brethren, and so he passes the Edict of Nantes, which grants protection to the Huguenots. It's almost like the best of both worlds. He's going to be Catholic, but the Huguenots get to live in peace. He's going to build bridges, improve roads. He's even going to revive agriculture. Things are going to go really well for him, except that he gets assassinated. Fun fact, this past summer I got to take a trip to Paris, and I got to stand in the exact spot where he gets assassinated. It was pretty interesting. There's a little plaque there. Okay, so when he dies, his young son, King Louis XIII, is going to be the new king. He's going to take over at age 9. He's going to strengthen the kingship further. And when he dies in 1643, this is the guy we've been waiting for. Although he will only be 5 years old when he becomes a king, we are now going to be learning about King Louis XIV, also known as the Sun King.
Wow, I didn't know. I didn't think Mr. Walter knew where I went. Thanks for letting me get in here. All right, King Louis XIV, the Sun King. All right, he is known as the boss. He's the king of kings. All right, his famous quote is, "I am the state," meaning that I'm the king, I'm the head of state, I'm the head of government, I am everything. All right. He took his symbol such as this, the sun. We all know from the scientific revolution that the sun is the center of the universe. So he being the Sun King, he is the center of everything. He's the center of the state. He's the center of the universe. All right. He never calls a meeting of what's called the Estates General, and therefore nobody could check Louis's power. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what is the Estates General? Well, the Estates General is simply the French version of Parliament. All right. We saw this in England too. All right. He also
As intendants. Intendants are royal officials who carried out Louis's policies. So this way they answer directly to Louis, and the common people would take their directions from intendants. Now, we're going to get to Versailles, or as it's actually called,
Versailles.
oh, the coolest place. This is the symbol of royal French power. It will be the biggest, most grand palace in all of Europe.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can actually see Versailles from outer space. It's about 14 miles outside of Paris. Fun fact, I went there this summer, and it was an incredible place to be and to stand and witness all this, where all this history took place. And a couple of pictures. This is from one of the halls.
I think this is a picture that Mr. Margarine took from the courtyard. Oh, here's one he took when he climbed a tree. And he took kind of like an aerial picture of it. This is from inside. You're actually not allowed to take pictures, but I guess he did this anyway. This is Louis's bedroom. It's kind of cool, very ornate. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what Versailles is. This is the place where Louis perfects the most elaborate ceremony showing how important he is, and it occupies the noble's time. Just to give you an example of a ridiculous ritual that he would have, it would be called the levee, or known as the rising, and nobles would complete this process of basically helping Louis get dressed and awake in the morning. And it's something silly, but it's something that the nobles would do, again, just to show Louis's importance.
Man, I'm sure we could all use help in the morning. All right. He also was very keen on helping the rich and powerful nobles. He invited them to come hang out with him at Versailles, and also consult him on policies as king. Now, he ruled for 72 years, so he maintained a strong power hold on the French government. Okay, French culture becomes preferred to the customs of Europe. Okay, however, he spends a ton of money waging war to gain more power, and that's going to bankrupt the French economy eventually when we talk about the French Revolution. All right. The balance of power is maintained in Europe, but no significant gains are made, meaning England and France are still going to be rivals with each other. Spain is still going to be in existence, although its power diminished quite substantially after it lost to the British Navy. All right. Louis persecutes Huguenots. He revokes the Edict of Nantes, and he kicks the Huguenots out. And unfortunately, this destroys the tax base because the Huguenots were also the wealthy people in France. So now there's not going to be people paying money into the government, which means they're going to be deficit spending more money than they are bringing in. And that's going to lead to all sorts of problems when we talk about the French Revolution in the next chapters. If you feel that Mr. Walter and I have spoken too fast, you can watch this stupendous video again. Please make sure you're filling out your notes in the Flip Classroom guided reading packet. If you have any questions, you can always email us or hit us up on Edmodo.